The whole idea is get the cages out of the equation. Put the cats in an environment where they feel safe, where they can run around, where they can have fun, where they can be themselves. And so people get to see the true personality of the cat. That was the whole idea.
My name is Andre Z. I'm here to adopt Morgan, who I just played with for like 10 minutes. My girlfriend had been here a couple times, I think with her mother, and she came out to play with cats. She moved here about 5 years ago, and we haven't really had a place that allowed cats, but now that we finally do, it's about time we adopt one.
I was just doing my research on cats that need homes who are elderly, and I found Tyra, and I clicked on who happens to be in the other room, who was about 10 years old.
That's right.
And my eyes set on her pretty intensely, and then it linked me to Cat Town, and I was searching on Cat Town's site, and found their social media. I'm a big social media person.
I found Cat Town when me and my grandmother just drove by and saw it and wanted to try it. And so when we first went, we were like, this is so cool, let's go again. And then we went a second time, and then suddenly we were going every 2 weeks, and then we were going every one.
Well, I heard about Cat Town when I moved here. So we were living a 5-minute walk away. And so when I first moved to Oakland, I was looking at places, and I think I saw Cat Town on like Instagram or something, and I was like, oh my God, there's a cat cafe that's right next to us. And so I forced Jeff to go as well, like when I first moved here.
So we started coming to Cat Town for a while, but we were living with another couple, and they had 2 cats that don't get along. And so we were like, we aren't introducing a 3rd cat into this equation. Yeah. So we just kind of would visit Cat Town, get some coffee, and hang out with a bunch of cats for a while.
Yeah.
I appreciated seeing how all the cats interact with one another here in this space. That's another feature about Cat Town that I've appreciated. I'm not well versed on other adoption sites, but just knowing that you can come and just hang with the cats for a period of time and just see how they interrelate with one another. You can really gauge their personalities and their temperaments before you're committed to something.
My name is Quinn White, and I am the development director for Cat Town. That means I help Cat Town bring in funding to support our mission and make sure that our community knows how we're spending their money wisely and the impact of their generosity on the lives that they've saved.
executive director here at Cat Town. My role here is to have overall oversight for the operations of the organization, setting strategy and making sure we're serving our mission effectively, and then also running the day-to-day sort of business side of things. Our core mission is to help cats, primarily from Oakland Animal Services, that's a municipal shelter here in Oakland, but also other shelters in the area. And we serve the cats that are most in need of help. So the cats that are at risk or in the shelter system or are deemed unadoptable when they're observed in a shelter cage. So we do that primarily by getting them out of the cage and removing the cage from the equation. So a lot of cats react very fearfully to being in a traditional shelter environment. So we bring them here to our adoption center, we place them in one of our many dozens of loving foster homes, and then the cats can relax and show their true personalities and then get adopted into permanent homes.
My role as foster program manager is to identify cats at the Oakland Animal Shelter who aren't available for adoption or even at risk for being euthanized, and trying to find appropriate foster homes where they can thrive and hopefully get adopted from there.
Come on, can you touch? Oh, that's not it. Over here. Come on, give me 5. He's leaving me hanging. Yeah, so this is Caesar. Caesar came to us originally, seemed to be uncomplicated, an easy cat. We call it a confident role model for our other shy cats. I mean, he was quickly adopted, and then once he was in an adoptive home, we learned a little more about him, and he turned out to have some pretty challenging behaviors, exhibiting some signs of aggression, and it was more difficult than the adopter was really equipped to deal with. So we brought him back. We worked on a behavior modification program for him, which didn't work. So, and so we had a consultation with a veterinary behaviorist to get more expert advice, an outside consultant. And we've started him now on medication. So he's actually on Prozac to help reduce his kind of agitation levels, his level of excitement. And he's doing really, really well. So he'll be moving to a foster home now that we know he's sort of behaviorally more stable and in a place where we can trust that he'll be safe in a home environment. We're going to be moving him to a foster home and then making him available for adoption shortly. No, up here. He's close. Come on. That's not right. Here we go. That's kind of. That was kind of right.
I think our biggest reason for adopting is we recently actually found each other, and we're getting married soon, and we're integrating families, and so we wanted to incorporate a cat into our home and to make it kind of feel like more of like a best suited family. And bringing my daughter in, it seemed like she just suited with the 2-year-old today, so that's what made our choice to go with.
Yeah, and it was really important to us to have a place where we could actually let our child interact with the cat and kind of see if they could bond, or let the relationship grow from the beginning. So that was important to have a place, and Cat Town actually provided that.
My name's John Tullock.
My name is Molly.
And we adopted 2 cats from Cat Town. When we came in, their names were
Ravioli and Tortellini.
Ravioli and Tortellini, and we decided that we didn't want to eat them. So we changed their names to Miko and Sky. We came down here once.
We came down here once. We were talking to somebody about fostering cats, and she told us that she was fostering them and they were still being socialized. And so we asked her more about them, and she said that we could video call to learn more about them. So we did that, and we liked them, and then we adopted them.
We have one big set of stairs in our house, and my wife got them an automatic feeder, and so they know the sound of that. When it releases the dry food, they either wake up from a dead sleep or stop whatever they are doing and just charge down. And it involves a 90-degree turn at the bottom of the stairs to go into the kitchen, and it's fun to watch them make that turn.
Because So almost all of our house is hardwood floor.
Yeah.
And the foster home that they were before was not hardwood floor, it was carpet. So they don't have very good friction. And so they just skid around the corner.
Yeah, it's fun to watch the cats skidding out and then getting to food.
Oh no. So we got Gatsby back in the end of April. He's amazing. We love him. He's 10 years old. He has one eye. He has the biggest personality.
He's very dog-like for a cat. Kind of a dog cat, if anything, I'd say.
He never hid. We brought him to our apartment. He never hid under anything. And, you know, when my parents came over to meet him, he went right up to them and brushed up against them and wanted pets. He's a very curious, confident guy.
I think Gatsby was one of the first cat we saw who we were like, oh, what a cute, cool, awesome looking cat. And then we inquired about him, and then he was going to be adopted by someone else. And Sophie especially, because she'd been the one doing all the research and really doing everything to adopt a cat, was super crushed because she'd definitely already grown kind of attached or a fondness for Gatsby, even though she'd only seen him in pictures and read about it, read his behavior description and stuff.
On Fridays and Saturdays, I work as an adoption counselor, which is completely separate from fundraising. But we're a small team, so we wear a lot of different hats here. And that involves helping make matches with cats and people, making sure that it's a good fit, talking about what we do if people are curious. Let's see, is there anybody in here? No. Got to check all the hiding spots. Looks like once we close, the cats know, and they're like, oh, there's no people, let's relax. And you get to see just how far they've come once the chaos of having a bunch of adopters here has kind of subsided, which is nice for them. But also that chaos is important for them to be more resilient in a variety of situations. So they're both good. So this is Sierra. She's being super sweet and cute. She came to us pretty shy, and she's been developing more and more confidence. This is Emerald. Emerald is also kind of a shyer cat. She came to us pretty shy. And then quickly warmed up to, feeling comfortable here. So we know that she'll probably regress a little bit in a home, but then she'll be really comfortable and confident. She's been doing really great with little kids. This is kind of our new cat acclimation space so that they can come to Cat Town without being bombarded by other cats. So it's just one thing for them to wrap their little heads around at a time. And then once we're open to the public, we open up at least part of it so they can stay hidden, but also be accessible to humans. And then it's at their own pace that they decide to come out. In the quiet room over here, we only let 2 people at a time in this room so that it's always got kind of a more mellow energy, and the cats have a mental sanctuary so that they don't feel constantly overwhelmed. And then we got studios. So Roger is kind of a complicated cat, and he also is kind of conflicted when he plays. He can become a little bit aggressive, so to speak, just kind of playing a little too roughly. And so he's here so that we can help him play more nicely. If you look at his face, he looks like he could never do any wrong. He's just got the cutest little face. He couldn't possibly get in trouble, could he? No, he's just too cute. But yeah, he sometimes just clumps. These are the cats who are here right now, and this is about 1/3 of the cats that we have in our care. The rest are in foster care, and those cats run the gamut from forgotten kittens to seniors, just like here. So yeah, Dawn is going to be your next step to learn more about the other cats we've got.
Hi, cowboy. Hi. That's my boyfriend. How are you? That's my guy. Can I say hi? Yeah.
So the first time, you know, we don't know these cats from anything. We don't know who they are, what they are, how they're feeling about humans. So we use this because, you know, hands coming at your face is pretty scary. This is not so much. And we can put treats on here, or we can put wet food on here and just kind of present it to them. Even a very subtle thing of a cat just sniffing it is a good sign. Some cats will just stay frozen and won't, like their eyes are shifting, but they won't even sniff this. If you can get them to sniff it and then lick it or eat it, that's huge. That's a big step. Seems like nothing, but it's actually a really big step in trying to identify who that cat is.
After about 3 years of operating the foster program, and that was going really well, we decided that we wanted to open an adoption center. And there is a person, he's called the Catman of West Oakland, who was the co-founder of the cafe. And so he and I, we didn't know each other. We just had a conversation one day about cat rescue. And I mentioned that he knew about Cat Town. And I mentioned that we were thinking about starting an adoption center. And so he said, well, why don't you make it a cat cafe? And I mean, it sounds silly, but it was kind of as simple as that. It's like, yeah, let's do that, because, you know, there wasn't a cat cafe in the United States, and, you know, understood that that was kind of a big deal, but really wanted, again, something like, what is going to be the draw to bring people to meet these cats? And so that just seemed like a really fun way to do it.
I think we have a lot of visibility being the first cat cafe in the nation. So people learn about us, and then they dig a little deeper. They either come to visit us to just hang out with the cats, or they become an adopter. And then they hear, you know, we're not just a cafe, we're actually a nonprofit with a very serious mission of helping cats who get overlooked. And these cats wouldn't really have a great chance anywhere else but Cat Town.
Johnny's got quite the story. He's a tripod. One of his back legs is not quite fully, they amputated it. He showed up in the back as about a 3 or 4 month old kitten. And we brought him inside, we trapped him and brought him in, got him neutered, and then tried to socialize him, but he was having none of it. So I thought, well, let's put him back out here. That's where he's used to. And he disappeared for a little while. And then I found him in one of the beds, and he was, his back leg was completely mangled and maimed. And I looked at the bed after he left, and there were maggots in it. And I thought, holy crap. Then he disappeared for 3 months. We set traps for him. We tried to get him back in so we could amputate the leg fully and get him healthy again. Disappeared. I thought, that cat's dead. Like, there's no way. 3 months later, he comes back. His leg is clean as a whistle and healed, and he is as fine as can be. And now and that was 3 years ago. That's Johnny. So I named him after one of our animal control officers whose dad is missing part of his leg. His name is Johnny.
I had a little break in my prior career. My background's actually in engineering, so I worked as an electrical power systems engineer for almost 20 years before changing careers. And Anne offered me a staff position at that time. So I came over and was helping with sort of day-to-day cat-related care, cat work here. And then when Anne moved on to become the director at Oakland Animal Services, the board asked me to take over as the director here.
Is the cat's favorite kind of treat. All the cats love this treat. Look, kitty, over here. I've been volunteering for about 4 years. I have 2 adopted cats from Cat Town and 2 foster cats from Cat Town. I adopted first. I had a cat who was 21 years old who had passed away. And so I came to Cat Town to adopt new cats. And so I adopted a pair of sister cats. And then after I adopted the cats, that's when I started volunteering.
I'm a volunteer here, and I've been probably volunteering for about maybe 4 to 5 years. I do a lot of the functions of the volunteer. You know, when you first come in, you sign up to kind of be in this area, talking to guests, letting them know about the cats. Then you can advance up to where you're an adoption counselor. So then you would be talking to people about their wishes to be an adopter, what kind of cat are they looking for. It's a matchmaking kind of process. We do take some of the more difficult to place cats. The Oakland Animal Services, if they become overcrowded, before, say, we existed, if they become overcrowded, they have an aggressive cat or a really, really shy cat, and say like a horde of kittens comes in, they would euthanize those cats. So now that we exist, we would take those cats so that they could have more room for those kittens that are coming in, and we would work with them here to get them ready for adoption.
Most rescues focus on numbers, right, and helping cats quickly. We focus on helping the cats who would not otherwise get help. The cats who get overlooked because they're black cats or they're senior cats or they've got some injury that is going to require a recovery period that's going to add to their length of stay, like a broken bone where it's highly treatable, but it means that they're with you for a little extra time, or ringworm where it's highly treatable, but it's incredibly contagious in a shelter setting where you've got a lot of cats packed together in one room. What makes us different is we've added to the equation that already exists to help more cats who otherwise would not have a chance to get adopted have a second chance at finding a home.
I used to be a volunteer at Oakland Animal Services, and I was a cat volunteer at a time when 42% of the cats that came into the shelter were euthanized. And I had worked in public housing for 20 years, and so I would say, like, I know what it is to be a good government worker that doesn't have the resources and is blamed for not being able to solve the problem. So seeing the municipal shelter through that light, like, these are good people, but it's a broken system. And a lot of people have such a negative perception of the shelter that animals go in there, but people don't. And so people avoid the shelter because they think it's depressing or whatever. So, you know, how is the shelter going to help those animals if people aren't willing to go there or take a chance on an animal who's stressed? You know, it's kind of putting those two things together, that these are good animals. They're reacting to an environment in a way that they seem unadoptable, and people don't want to go to the shelter. So let's get the animals out and put them into an environment where they feel safe and create an environment where people want to be.
So before I got involved with Cat Town, I worked with people who have mental illness. I worked with people who had schizophrenia, depression, and anxiety-related disorders. And I worked with them in residential treatment. And I feel like that is not much different than what we're doing for the cats. In that job, I provided them with opportunities to show their best selves. They can't do it in a hospital. They weren't able to function highly enough to be at home. So this was sort of the in-between, to give them an opportunity to get some support and hopefully eventually go off on their own. And I feel like it's really similar to what we do for the cats.
There was a cat named Effie, a big calico cat. She was surrendered to the shelter by her previous owner, a caring, compassionate person who just wasn't able to care for her any longer. She had a pretty serious skin condition, so she was in some pain, and she just reacted really badly to being in the kennel. We kind of affectionately call it angry surrender syndrome, which is ASS. So, this is not the official term or anything. It's just a reaction, a fear reaction, a stress reaction to being in a kennel. And she had a really bad case of it. She would lash out angrily. If you walked into the room, she would start growling. And if you came up to her kennel, she would lunge and strike at you, trying to scratch and swat. She was so difficult that when we went to take her out of the shelter and bring her to a foster home, we actually had to get the veterinarian to sedate her so that we could safely move her out of the kennel, partly because she was so big and so angry that it was just not safe to handle her at all. So there's no way that A typical person looking for a cat is going to look at a cat behaving like that and say, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to believe that this cat's going to be fine when she gets out of the kennel, right? I mean, that's a lot to ask of someone. So just by getting her out of there and getting her into a loving foster home and letting her decompress, she really transformed and really turned into a sweet cat, and she was adopted.
So I first heard about Cattawn about a year ago when I moved to Oakland. I happened to move kind of into an apartment right across the street from Cattawn, and I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship. I was living by myself for the first time. I was lonely. I was looking, for a companion, and, a friend told me about Cattawn. I went in, and the first time I'm there, I was looking around in the area where they kind of have their own spaces, and I pretty much just saw Little Boy right away. He just had such a unique pattern. He had like a sleeve of tattoos on one of his legs. He was just so calm and sweet. He was just a cat that was really attuned to me and peaceful, which, I don't know, I just kind of felt like I had an affinity with him. Like he and I kind of shared the same personality. So I hit it off with Little Boy right away, and I knew he was the one, I didn't need to look at any of the other cats. But I was kind of curious, why is he isolated? Like he's not in the general population with the other cats. And Andrew, I believe, told me, kind of filled me in on his history. I guess he had been spraying, so the family that he was with, they loved him so much, but they just couldn't, he wasn't happy in their home because he was getting nervous and territorial with other cats in the neighborhood, and so he was spraying a lot. And so he just needed to be in a home where there was no other cats and indoors. So I was like, wow, that's perfect. I'm on the 3rd story apartment, like I work from home, so I'm basically home all the time, and I don't have any other pets. And so it was kind of like a perfect match.
I would say some good tips for fostering a cat in the very beginning would be give the cat some time and space to decompress. They just came from the shelter and they're very stressed. Another tip would be to meet that cat where they are. Don't wait the entire time for the cat to come to you. There's a certain point in time where you've given the cat space, but now you need to go to them.
I was very nervous when I brought him home because I just expected that he would be really shocked by this new surrounding, and it could be, I mean, in the beginning, I didn't necessarily even know his personality that well yet. I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I brought him home, I set his crate down in the floor of the bedroom. I just started out in the bedroom because I didn't want to overwhelm him with all the other rooms in the apartment, and I just wanted that to be like a safe space for him. So I just opened up his crate and let him explore on his own. And he pretty much just walked right out of his crate, jumped on the bed, and just laid next to me. It was like he was home. And just be comfortable with me, it's like he just instantly adopted me. It was like he chose me as his owner, and he loved it. Good boy. Good boy. He's a good boy.
According to one of the caretakers, these 2 particular cats I'm going to show you are bonded. And one is friendly and the other one is throwing daggers at me. So, but she's little and she seems really feral, but I'm on a mission to kind of break her. I just feel like she's really, really scared, and I just feel like I think I can maybe make some headway with her. So she's my project cat right now. Hi, oh, you're on top today. Oh, I'm so excited. So this is the friendly one of this pair, supposedly bonded pair of the park cats that came from a different area of the park. So she's a little flinchy, but she does like pets, unlike her friend. So this cat was probably dumped at the park because it's just way too social to be a feral cat, which unfortunately that seems to be what's been happening over there. Is that people who don't want to keep their cats say, I could never surrender my cat to the shelter, but yet they could dump them somewhere and leave them to fend for themselves. So pretty friendly, a little bit skittish, but very sweet. obviously not feral. She has been socialized by somebody at some point somewhere. So I believe she lived in a home. Hi, friend. You are so cute. I know, I'm back. Sometimes I like to give them the soft end because sometimes they'll bite at it, and this is less painful than this. The fact that she's not even hissing or growling yet is shocking. She's usually hissing and growling by now. Hi. Hi, I know. You hate me, I know, but I'm not giving up on you yet. Hi. So last week in one visit, I spent 30 minutes with her. 5 minutes was her hissing and growling and swatting at my scratcher. And then 10 minutes was just me holding wet food for her on the end of this and her not sniffing it. And then the next 10 to 15 minutes, I purposely just put some food on her mouth so she was forced to lick it, and then she started licking it off the scratcher. Hi, Mama. So I'm just gonna take some of this good stinky stuff. Hi. Yeah, it's okay. I know. I know. Shh. I know. I was just here 2 minutes ago. I know. Shh. Remember that yummy food? Let's see. So her eyes, she looks very mad and very scared, but her ears are not flat. So cat body language is very interesting. Usually if a cat's really mad, it will put its ears down. Call them airplane ears. She's not doing that. She's just wanting to kill me with her eyes. Hi. Do you remember this stuff from last time? Okay, she's already sniffing it sooner than she did last time. Yeah. Are we making progress? Oh, there we go. There she goes. She's looking at it. So this is huge. This is huge. She just did in 1 minute what it took me 15 minutes to do 2 days ago. And without all the lashing out. Good girl, Mama. This is the rewarding part of the job. This is when you see progress being made on a really complicated cat or just a really scared cat. The fact that she's licking and eating this in front of me and she's taking her eyes off me is huge. Oh, that was a nice chunk. Hey. Can I do a little scratch? I know, you're not gonna like this. It's okay. Yeah, there's more. I'm gonna bring you more. But we're gonna do this just to see. You're okay. I know. Yeah, there's a little growl. She needs a very controlled environment. She's a perfect studio candidate while we still try to continue to figure out who she is. Because again, you can't, she's in the shelter, she was at the park, not knowing her history. It's unfair to judge her behavior in this setting.
Hi, my name is Kristen Jacks, and I'm a CCA, also staff on duty sometimes. I wanted to show you guys the back where we kind of, this job we feed and we clean and kind of take care of the cats more than the other staff does. So I wanted to show you kind of how our back is set up. So we do dishes twice a day because we have, we got to feed them. We change the water every morning and their little kibble. They're kibble bowls. Every morning and night, we got to make sure those are refreshed. So we go through each studio that you kind of walked by, and we clean and scoop their litter, make sure that everything looks clean in there. We do laundry. As you can see, I have one I have to put in there right now. Over here is kind of like all of our supplies. So we have the cat beds. We have pillows. We actually, the CCAs, it's a cat care attendant. But we actually kind of call it we're the cat maids or their servants, because you know how cats kind of choose you. You're not really their owner, so we kind of joke that we are the cat maids because we cook and clean and, clean up after their bathroom for them and stuff. So we're the cat maids.
I mean, I really never expected to start a rescue organization or do more than volunteer for a few months. So I didn't go in there thinking I'm going to do something big. One of the reasons I was there is I had 2 cats, Langston and Tea Cake, who had died within 3 months of each other. It was actually my husband's idea to volunteer at the shelter in their memory. And Tea Cake was an extremely shy cat. And so none of our friends knew Tea Cake. He would always hide under the bed when people were over. And so when I went to the shelter, I would say I saw it through Tea Cake's eyes, because I saw like, Tea Cake was such a great cat who's so loving. But if you went into a shelter environment, nobody would know that. He would just be absolutely terrified. For me, part of it was just the injustice of it all, that these are animals that have no agency and no way to get out. And it just started to really make me crazy. I mean, in a sense of like, I felt like I had to do something. And so, I started out with thinking, if I love these animals, if I want to help, there are other people that want to help. They may just not want to come to the shelter to do it, or they don't know how to do it. There's so many individual people who care, but they don't know what to do with that. And so I think that's really what was the starting point, is I'm just one person. If I feel this way, others feel the same way. And how do we find those people and kind of bring everybody together and do something good?
You're so cute. What did they give you? Oh, Snuggle Puss. Can you come here? Come here. That's like a oh my goodness. Oh, you're a lovey love. You're younger than I thought you were gonna be. There's that Snaggletooth. Oh, did you see it? Show me. There it is.
We are here because we have foster failed 3 times from Cat Town and have, 3 cats from here.
Foster fail is when a foster goes into the situation thinking they're just going to foster this cat and hopefully help it find its next home. But in the process, they end up falling in love with the cat and decide to keep it. So foster fail, it's a little bit of an oxymoron, because there's nothing failure about the cat getting to stay put and getting to stay with the person that they've known over the last however long. I would say 1 out of every 5 or 6 fosters ends up keeping their foster cat.
Yeah, so we started out and we had a previous cat who had just passed away, and our apartment was feeling pretty lonely, but we weren't really quite ready to commit to being new real cat owners again. And so we reached out to Cat Town to have a cat on a foster basis, and her name was Winnie, and she was just the scaredest, just like sort of terrified, hiding under the washing machine or the dishwasher. But sort of slowly but surely, she got more and more comfortable and confident with us, and we fell in love with her and decided to go ahead and adopt her for real. So yeah, so that's a foster fail, is we didn't go into it with the intention of really adopting a cat, but just fell in love, and that's what happened.
We failed at being fosters in the best sense of the word.
How's it going?
You okay? We first started fostering Kevin right before the whole lockdown started with the pandemic in March.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks actually before. And I saw Kevin on Instagram, and he was very sad looking. He needed a foster, and so I somehow convinced you that we had to take him in.
It didn't take much. She just kind of was like, yeah, so there's a cat, and I was like, sign me up. So yeah, we ended up getting Kevin, and we just bought a house before that, so we had an extra room that we put Kevin in, and for a bit, it didn't seem like he was going to warm up to us for a while. It was one of those kind of things where like you have to really go slow with the cat, but
yeah, it took a few weeks for him to stop hissing at us when we walked in the room.
It was that kind of situation where you'd try and bribe him with treats and he wouldn't have any of it. He'd hiss whenever you open the door, hiss if you get near him, and then it just kind of switched. Like it was pretty quick on Wendy started kind of warming up to us.
Yeah.
Probably like 3 weeks in, he started actually like hanging out with us when we were in the room.
And now he's just our best friend, basically. He just hangs out with us all day.
Our second cat, actually, I think Dawn or Cat Town reached out to us that she just had a cat that she needed, quickly to have some fosters, and she knew that, we had done that in the past, and Billy was a black cat, and both Sarah and I growing up had black cats, loved black cats. And yeah, so it was sort of like a good fit for everyone. It was, great for us to have Billy around, and it was, it worked out for Winnie as well, and so we just decided to take the plunge a second time.
Well, actually, Dawn emailed us and is like, people want to meet Billy. And then we didn't talk about it for like 24 hours because both of us were like, not really ready to say it. And then I was like, okay, we just can't do it. We can't let anyone else see him because he's so amazing and anybody who meets him is gonna fall in love with him. So no, you can't meet him and we will meet him. Dawn's response was, yeah, I assumed anytime somebody doesn't reply right away, it normally means that they're at least thinking about keeping the cat.
I've never had a cat that just wants to hang out with you all day. He enforces bedtime in the house, actually.
Yeah,
Kevin is the one that is like, hey guys, it's 9 o'clock, you're old, it's time for
Elise
bed.
tries to blame me for that because I usually force like the 9 o'clock kind of like that's my routine because I wake up early for work and sometimes I do night work and that kind of stuff. And then Kevin picked up on it, and so he'll collect us if we're like we'll be watching TV and he'll be like, no, it's bedtime.
Yeah.
He's an odd cat. Another kind of weird thing about him is he's missing a lot of teeth. So it seems like he doesn't quite get his meows right because he doesn't have like a good feel for where his tongue is when he's like making noise.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll be a squeak, sometimes it'll be a long drawn out thing. Sometimes he forgets to put his tongue back in, so it'll be sticking out because there's no teeth to stop it.
But yeah, he's missing his teeth. He has FIV, which hasn't interfered with his life a lot at all, thankfully. He has asthma too, so we have to give him an inhaler. So we had to build a routine around the inhaler as well.
And he's warmed up to that too. Like you bring the inhaler out and he'll come up to you, and because we've bribed him with treats afterwards, and so he'll come up and then he'll be a jerk about it. Like this cat he's dumb, but he's smart.
He's got an attitude is what it is. He comes up, I'll start getting the inhaler ready, and he comes and he'll sit in front of me and be like, I'm ready for the inhaler. All he has to do is breathe. There's nothing involved, nothing special he has to do.
And he's gotten to things where like he'll hold his breath and try and like pretend it's done after 5 seconds. He's manipulative. He's not the smartest cat, but he has some low cunning there. He'll try and trick you. He'll play with your emotions, all sorts of stuff.
He loves French fries. Specifically, that's the only human food he likes.
He has stolen a French fry or two, and he's pretty adept at it, so I think he has a bit of practice.
French fries and bread. He's a carboholic, but he doesn't like, you'd think that he would try to steal like meat or, something else that cats like, but it's really, it's French fries.
We've tried giving him like cooked tuna and stuff like that, and he's like, no,
he doesn't want
French fries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the third one was during COVID, and it was Cat Town had to shut down pretty suddenly within 24, 48 hours. And I had reached out to Dawn and just said, hey, if they were frantically trying to find homes, and I said, I'm happy to help out, let me know. So we took home this little, really fuzzy, long-haired kitten named Gree. We renamed her Gigi. And she and Billy, who now goes by Rocco, these two, they sleep together, they chase each other around all day, and they just became best friends. And then Cat Town reopened, and we were like, we can't have 3 cats, this is way too much. And so we brought her back. And then Rocco was looking around for her for days, and it felt really sad.
Well, and Rocco was just like, he was just less energetic.
Yeah.
Like he's a very active cat, and yeah, it was clear like he missed her. And so, we were like, okay, well, we should go visit her,
well, first
see how she's doing.
It was the first weekend, and Cat Town posted something on Instagram that all the cats had been adopted. And I was like, cool, that means she's in a good home, like that's okay. And I felt okay about that. And I had actually emailed Dawn just saying, wow, that weekend was great. Was she adopted? And they said, no, she's still a little skittish, so we didn't put her out here. She's like one of the only cats of the 30 that was still there. I was like, okay, well, then that's a sign. And then we came in and just decided that we needed to adopt her. And that is how we have 3 foster fails.
I became a volunteer for Cat Town after my cat had passed away at a young age from cancer, and I took it really hard. It's still hard to talk about a little bit, but he was a great cat. And he was really shy. Like, he hid a bunch when we first, adopted him as a kitten. And like, he never liked to be on my lap or anything. And at first I was like, oh wow, this cat is just like, I got a cat. I waited until it was just the right time. I was done with college and like I had stability in my life. And then this cat who I got to be like my snuggle buddy didn't want to snuggle, I was like, what am I doing wrong? But he taught me a lot about patience and like adapting to the cat's needs. And then when he died, I was just like in this place where I didn't really know what to do with myself. And one of my colleagues found like this clipping in the newspaper and was like, there's this place called Cat Town and they're looking for volunteers. Go do this with yourself. Stop crying in the best, nicest way possible. And so I did. I came and I started volunteering, and I immediately was like blown away by the mission of helping these cats who struggle to get adopted, and volunteered to fundraise for Cat Town.
My name is Marie Carney, and I am the medical manager here at Cat Town. I've been doing that for about 3 years. I think a big part of what we can do for adopters and our fosters, and what I do, is I help them feel confident and comfortable with the medical decisions that have to be made. So when they're adopting a senior cat who has kidney disease and their kidneys go downhill, like, they have someone to talk to with experience and who can be compassionate about the situation and talk through options, talk through what I've seen historically with cats in the same situation, and really offer that emotional support as well as the financial support. So people really appreciate that. I know for me, being able to do this work this job is really hard, but really, I've never felt as proud as I do now when I say what I do. And I've never been able to feel so good impacting a life. As you might imagine, being the medical manager, I sometimes am at home exhausted and have to take a cat to the emergency vet at midnight, or take a phone call from a foster who's freaking out. And in general, I work 60 hours a week, and Cat Town can't afford to pay us a lot because we're a nonprofit. But all that is so worth it emotionally to have an impact, and to know like this individual life is better because of me. And that feels amazing.
We have 3 cats that are scared, and like they're not like the cats that go up and greet strangers at the door, and if the doorbell rings, they may hide under the bed. And so they're cats that in a shelter environment, they wouldn't do well. And so having these 3 cats that I think wouldn't have had the opportunity to like live and be loved and be part of our family is amazing.
We adopted Cookie in April. We brought her home March 17th, the day that Shelter in Place started. She's our Cat Town cat, and she lives with us and our other cat, Bobka, who we got from the East Bay SPCA about 6 months before we got Cookie. I think that Cat Town's presence, like here on Broadway, is a really special one. I really see Cat Town as like a very special part of the community, not just like an animal shelter that like does animal welfare and cat welfare. I think the kind of lesson of caring for cats that don't have another option, that are like incredibly shy, under-socialized. Cookie was, I mean, honestly, hissing and swatting. Like, you could have seen her as like an aggressive cat, as like a cat that like maybe shouldn't be adopted, you know? And they gave her the space and time. And I think that there's just kind of a beautiful lesson when we think about the needs for transformative justice and like the time for people to be able to change in our world overall. I think it's really special that to have a relationship with an organization like Cat Town that kind of models that, even if it's just for like a silly little tuxedo cat that was found at West Oakland BART. I think that that's like a really beautiful lesson to have.
And I remember the day we opened, which was, we did a soft opening. The schedule didn't work the way we intended. So what we had intended was to bring the cats in 2 weeks before, so there would be plenty of time for them to get acclimated. And it ended up, because we had an issue with the health permit, it ended up that we got the cats in the day before. And so they were stressed and we were stressed. And I remember the morning of the soft opening thinking like, this is a disaster. I mean, I just really, like, we had put so much into this and we really didn't even know if it was a good idea. I mean, but we had just kind of gone all the way out on a limb to say we're doing this very publicly. And, you know, a lot has changed since then. We've learned a lot about, you know, which cats do well in this environment, and it's not for everybody. But for those that thrive, they thrive. And so it really did turn out to be this amazing opportunity, especially for younger cats that are more fearful. It really helps them become confident, which is a huge part of our model.
Like, you notice in the big room, there's lots of cats. Some cats are more confident, some cats are more shy. The ones who are the confident cats will teach the shy cats, like, oh, humans aren't that bad. Like, you know, help them be more confident around humans. And so my cats that I fostered, they were in the big room for a while, but they did not do good. So then they were in here for a while in the studios, but they needed space. So since I had confident cats at home, they thought my home would be a good place for them because my cats could socialize them.
Cats need to be exposed to humans. Leaving a scared cat to sit under a bed is not going to be particularly helpful. And having a cat within a bunch of humans and having people around the cat all the time is very helpful.
Pre-Kevin life was just dull, wasn't it?
I mean, we went out more, but that was also pre-coronavirus. So I mean, Kevin timed his things right. I mean,
yeah, for
he's
sure.
really saved us from lockdown crazy. I mean,
Definitely. I honestly don't know what we would have done not having him during this whole time period. And I'm glad he's adjusting more to us being gone too. So I'm really glad that we got that time with him to, you know, work from home and get him assimilated. And then now we can have regular life, but also miss him terribly when we leave. So.
Yeah. You know, the companionship that I've gotten from little boy, it really helped me through a hard time in my life, you know, and I don't know what I would do without him, you know. I mean, you can say he saved my life, you know. He represented a new chapter in my life and moving forward, and he gave me something to focus on outside of my thoughts, you know. A lot of times I get a little too wrapped up in my head, and he really grounds me and just kind of reminds me to enjoy the little things.
I would say my biggest challenge as of yet while being with Cat Town is not being able to help every single cat that we want to help. I have a list, always an ongoing list, with sometimes 10 cats, sometimes 30 cats. I wish we could get all 30 of those cats out at once. It's just not possible. We don't have the resources, we don't have the space. If we could have another adoption center where we could double our capacity, have another cat zone, have more studios, that would be amazing.
For somebody that's thinking about adopting, just adopt. Actually, if you don't adopt from Cat Town and you go somewhere else, that's still a win for us. So we do tend to focus on the special population of cats, and that's not always the right fit for every adopter, not necessarily exactly what everybody's looking for, so we recognize that. We really just want people to adopt from a shelter or a rescue organization and help a homeless cat.
The most rewarding thing is to see cats that you would think are never going to be comfortable with humans, or you're not sure they're ever going to heal up and get better, to see them make that turn and that we can give them the time and the chance to do that.
When Cattown was founded in 2011 by Ann Dunn, the euthanasia rate for cats at the city shelter was 42%. And with our help since that time, it's been consistently underneath 10% euthanasia rate since 2014, when we opened this adoption center.
The thing that's so amazing to me sitting here 10 years after starting this is, I always say from the beginning, this is not about me. This is not mine. This is creating this resource for this community, and that it has to outlive me. So it was really intentional to build something that would exist apart from me.
In March, with the pandemic and the shelter-in-place orders, we temporarily closed our adoption center. So we're open again now, but there's still a lot of uncertainty around that and what the long-term implications are for Cattown. Frankly, the long-term plans are a little bit vague at the moment. We're focused on getting through the next few months, getting to the end of the pandemic, and hopefully in some kind of return to normal. Looking into the future, the kind of the themes that I'm interested in, beyond just ensuring our financial sustainability. I want to make Cattown really the best place for people to adopt, the best place for people to volunteer, and also the best place for our staff to work. I'm also really interested in looking at equity issues around animal welfare and animal adoptions, and looking into programmatic things that we can do at Cattown to help disadvantaged communities keep their pets in their homes and avoid cats in particular from having to go to the shelter in the first place.
Don't leave the animal there because they seem difficult, right? I mean, kind of going back to that, the guidance that I got at the beginning, these are difficult animals and nobody wants them. It's like, these are animals having a healthy reaction to a really stressful environment. And what we saw there had nothing to do with who they really are. And so, I think that that's really what people can learn from, and that's what they can emulate. And it can be, you can do it in lots of different ways, but the main thing is, give that animal a chance.
Just with this tiny team of people who do more than one job, we're able to make a big difference. A lot of that is because we have incredible volunteers who step up and help us. We've got, I want to say, about 200 volunteers who help because, the number of staff we have that we can pay, it just wouldn't be possible. So don't underestimate what you can do with a small number of people. If you see a problem, address it. That's what Cattown did, and that's what we do every day. And sometimes it's a lot of work, but it's always really rewarding.
Part of our mission at Cattown is, once a cat is a Cattown cat, they're a Cattown cat. We want to make it work for that cat, and we're gonna do anything we can to make it work.